Josina.
Josina, currently you are an advocate for gender, gender. This is part of the MTG goals as a Millennium Development Goal to 3 as empowering equal rights for women. You know, how far have you gone with this campaign? How far have you gone? And how can you link it with the 1 billion RICS that has been launched today?
There has been significant progress. The world today, when we look at 2020, is not exactly as oppressive as it was in 1990 or even 5 years ago when I was abused. So there has been an improvement. The women have a bit more space to actually talk about it in some societies. But in general, you see a lot more women like me who have the courage to come out and say, I am a survivor of gender-based violence. I was beaten up. This and this happened to me. I'm a victim of secondary victimization because the system was in such a way that I had to prove 3 times stronger and, be consistent in ensuring that my documents are there, my story is validated, and it goes and we had a day in court. So it is changing, but it's still, for those women that have not been able to benefit, it's still as oppressive as it was. There's nothing worse than a woman being abused and not being able to talk about it, being forced to keep her silent. The scars are there, as I said earlier. The scars, they're visible. For some of us who are blind or half blind, the scars may be visible, but there are women who've got it inside themselves. And it's very difficult to see, but they are forced to continue carrying out life as if nothing has happened. And so we need to do a lot more. I am very, very happy to be in Swaziland today, in 2020. And know that, 2 years, a bit more than 2 years ago, the legislation passed. Mm-hmm. So there is actually a legal system that protects women against abuse. Now the challenge is to ensure that men do not go against this violence. They don't continue to violate the rights of women, the dignity of women, so that we can erase actually gender-based violence.
You said you have been abused twice. That's what you said in your interview.
I was abused physically by my aggressor, but then the system abused me in ensuring that I had to continue to prove that I'd been abused. I could have my documents validated. I had to time and time again get my documents again. And that is a system of victimization again.
And if you talk about your aggressor, who is your aggressor? Your husband, your boyfriend?
No, he was a man I was seeing. I do not want to acknowledge that a boyfriend could be so brutal and could be so evil, that aside from the physical abuse, it still put on me to actually prove that I'd been beaten. I had to go through the system because he kept on making sure that the documents disappeared. So I'm Josina Machel, and I say I stand against violence because I'm a survivor, and I name my abuser. He's known. It's in the papers. It's in Mozambique, Mr. Likuku, right? And it's known. But that is what we need to do because we also need to.
You have kids
no,
with
thank
him?
God. Thank God, no.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids. I was married before.
Oh, you divorced now?
Yes, I am.
What happened?
What?
You are celebrating?
No, that's my personal life.
When we talk about Machel, what do you call it? Your name rings bell in the whole of Africa. So
definitely, but we don't need to be talking about my private life to that.
So whatever happens in your life, it happens to the life of all women because you are a role model. Your father was a role model. Your family is a role model.
And I stand as a role model. But I do not want to bring the privacy of my children and what happened in that scenario to the public.
Okay, last question.
Yes, thank you.
Your father went
Machel.
through Your father went through one of the horrific and brutal, what do you call it, assassination in the millennium, before the new millennium.
In 1986.
Yeah, he was perceived, I was young, that it was caused by the apartheid administration. I don't know about that. But the investigation proved that the apartheid government orchestrated the assassination of Samora Machel.
Yes, it is proven, and there are people who have actually come out and given statements
And then
about
what have
the
you
involvement.
done? You are now a gender advocate, and you are here now. Your father was assassinated. He has nobody but the children. And justice denied his word. You know what I'm trying to say? What
Justice
are you doing?
delayed is
Justice denied. So
yes.
what are you doing to make sure that the African Union or SADC bring what happened to our former head of state? The truth should come to book, and even compensation paid to children like you who have been deprived of your dad, maybe education wise. You know what I'm saying? You've been deprived of a lot of things. I mean,
No.
Go ahead.
No. What happened was it was an aggression of states. Samora Machel was assassinated as president of Mozambique, as a leader in the struggle against apartheid, and as a leader, in the area of SADC. We know that he was assassinated because of the support that he was giving to liberation movements in Africa, in particular the ANC. Now, I have to say, the African National Congress has been very good to my mother and to my family.
Okay.
Frelimo as a party has been good to us. The Mozambican state has afforded us education as much as it was possible, and we did take that opportunity as much as it is. There are, of course, a few steps that had to be taken, and we as a family have given quite a few leads, and we pursued to have this case finalized.
Okay.
We are not a state entity, so the Mozambican people, the Mozambican state has to bring, if it is in their interest, they can take the investigation forward and come to a conclusion. I think it would be unfair to expect us as a family to continue revisiting this trauma 30 years later and engaging at that level, without any other response. So if Africa wants to claim Samora Machel, they can claim Samora Machel. They can demand that mysterious assassination, if we put it like that, comes to the clear. Now, in terms of what we're doing as children, I think you would be happy to know that we are very upstanding citizens. We are engaged in the causes that you see. And as you see, I'm standing here as a woman and giving voice to women who are abused in my country, in the continent, and in the world. So I think that is my way of standing up to the values of my father and paying homage to who he is. As you realize, just the fact that I came up and people said, this is the daughter of Samora Machel, already you remembered Samora Machel, and that is the point.
That is what we know you for.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
just
very
one
much.
question now. Let's talk in terms of politics now. Aren't you interested in going to politics? I've listened to your interviews right now, very intelligent, eloquent. Don't you want to take on the steps of your dad and be the president?
No, absolutely not. I am very happy and challenged to do the work that I'm doing. It is not an easy one. It's not something I would have chosen, but it's something that I stand up proudly. And it means, I have to be in the lives of women daily. It's not just coming to stages and talking about it, but it's actually going through the horrible pain that victims and survivors of violence go through every single day. First in the home, then in the schools when it's young children. It is against the state, or when they come across police, social workers, doctors, and the criminal justice system. Doing that journey on a daily basis with women, that is what my mission is, and that is what gets me accomplished. It's also being able to look at those women that society does not actually acknowledge, and it's looking and say, I know what your pain is. I've gone through it, and together we will rise. I do not need to be a president.
What if the people of Mozambique want you?
I just need to make sure that these women know that I fight for them, and I make sure that their voices and their faces are actually acknowledged.
Thank you. You're one of the few women who have come out and tell your story. That is very brave. There are millions, actually billions of other women who are going through the same experience but are afraid to come out. What is your motivation in terms of initiatives like this, that where women can come together and actually change the system now into taking a look into our problems as women?
Well, I got a very simple motivation, and that's what got me up. It's to ensure that what I went through does not happen to millions of women. It's to make sure that the ones that unfortunately will come after me have at least a lighter and a clearer path than the one that I went through.
Thank you very much. That is beautiful.
But then Mozambique want you to be president.
They want me to help them where I am. And I'm happy.